The Mongols conquered the largest land empire in history, but they never built castles. While European kings lived in stone fortresses and Chinese emperors ruled from palaces, Mongol Khans chose to live in felt tents that could be packed up and moved in hours. Were they too primitive to build permanent structures? Or was there something else going on? Today we're discovering why the Mongols chose mobility over stone walls, and how their felt tents became the secret weapon of the greatest empire the world has ever seen. Welcome to Mongol Madness. The mobile fortress. Here's what most people get wrong about yurts. They think of them as primitive camping tents, something you use because you don't know how to build real houses. But the Mongols knew exactly how to build permanent structures. They'd conquered dozens of civilizations with sophisticated architecture. They had Chinese engineers, Persian builders, and Russian craftsmen who could build anything they wanted. They chose yurts deliberately. And once you understand why, you'll realize they were making the smarter choice. The Persian historian Rashid al-Din described how a Mongol household could completely disassemble their yurt, load it onto carts, move it 50 miles, and reassemble it, all in a single day. A European castle took years to build and couldn't be moved. A yurt could relocate in hours. William of Rubruck, visiting the Mongol court in the 1250s, watched this firsthand. He wrote that the Mongols could, quote, take down their houses and set them up again very quickly. Some yurts were so large, they required 22 oxen to pull them. These weren't small tents. The Great Khan's yurts were massive structures over 30 feet in diameter, decorated with silk hangings, Chinese carpets, and gold ornamentation. Marco Polo saw yurts where 200 people could stand inside comfortably. The strategy of speed. The Mongol military system required constant movement. Their armies could cover 70 to 80 miles per day. Their economy was based on following herds to fresh pastures throughout the year. A castle would have been a prison, not a fortress. It would tie them to one location, require permanent garrisons, need constant supply lines, and become a fixed target enemies could attack while the main army was elsewhere. The Chinese official Peng Dia observed that while Chinese generals worried constantly about defending cities and fortifications, Mongol commanders had no such concerns. Their capital moved with them. There was nothing permanent to defend. This created an enormous strategic advantage. European and Chinese armies had to worry about homelands being attacked while away. The Mongols, everything they valued was mobile. Their families, wealth, herds, all moved with the army or could be moved quickly if threatened. The Persian chronicler Juvaini watched a Mongol army of 50,000 warriors completely relocate their entire camp in under 3 days. He admitted that, quote, no army we had ever faced possessed such flexibility. They could not be pinned down because they carried their entire world with them. A palace he never used. Let me tell you about Ögedei Khan, Genghis Khan's third son, who became the second Great Khan. His story perfectly shows the Mongol relationship with permanent structures. In the 1230s, Ögedei decided to build the first permanent Mongol capital at Karakorum in Mongolia. He brought in Chinese architects, Persian craftsmen, and Russian builders. They constructed a magnificent palace with stone walls, elaborate gates, and beautiful gardens. William of Rubruck visited Karakorum in 1254 and described the palace in detail. The Great Hall, ornate decorations, sophisticated architecture. But then he noticed something surprising. Despite having this magnificent palace, Ögedei spent most of his time living in a massive yurt set up in the palace grounds. The palace was for formal ceremonies and receiving important guests, but the Khan's actual daily life, eating, sleeping, meeting with close advisors, all happened in the yurt. When Rubruck asked why, a Mongol official explained, quote, a palace is for impressing outsiders and conducting formal business, but a man lives in his gur. But there was more to it. According to Rashid al-Din, Ögedei told his advisors something profound. He said, quote, my father conquered the world from a felt tent. If I abandon the felt tent for a stone palace, what message does that send to our warriors? That I have grown soft? That I value comfort over the traditions that made us strong? This wasn't just nostalgia. Ögedei understood something crucial. The moment leadership started living in permanent luxury, separated from the harsh realities ordinary warriors faced, the whole system would decay. And he was right, because we can see exactly what happened when later Mongol rulers chose palaces over yurts. The prison of comfort. When Kublai Khan established the Yuan dynasty in China in the 1270s, he faced a choice: maintain Mongol traditions or adopt Chinese imperial customs and rule from a magnificent palace in Beijing. Kublai chose the palace. Marco Polo described it as probably the most luxurious palace in the world at that time. But something was lost. The Chinese historian Ma Duanlin wrote in the 1280s about changes he observed. He noted that, quote, "The Mongols who now live in palaces have grown different from those who conquered us. They move slowly. They have become accustomed to comfort. They no longer ride for days without stopping." Within 3 generations, Mongol warriors in China could barely ride horses. The historian Tao Zongyi wrote that by the 1340s, many young Mongol nobles had never even been on a long cavalry ride. They'd grown up in palaces, not on the steppe. In 1368, less than 100 years after Kublai chose his palace, the Yuan dynasty fell. The Mongols were driven out of China, retreating back to Mongolia, back to their yurts, back to the mobile lifestyle that had made them powerful. Meanwhile, Mongols who remained in the steppes and kept living in yurts maintained their power much longer. The northern Yuan continued as a significant force for another 200 years precisely because they never abandoned their mobile lifestyle. The philosophy of freedom. Beyond practical reasons, there was something deeper about how the Mongols understood freedom and power. Ibn Battuta, visiting the Mongol Golden Horde in the 1330s, had a conversation with a Mongol noble who'd seen magnificent palaces in both China and Persia. Ibn Battuta asked why Mongol nobles didn't build similar palaces. The noble's answer is recorded in Ibn Battuta's account. He said, quote, "A palace is beautiful, yes, but it is also a cage. When you build a palace, you must stay near it to protect it and enjoy it. You become its prisoner. But a Jur can go wherever I go. If I wish to hunt in the mountains, my home comes with me. If an enemy threatens, I do not worry about defending walls. I simply move." This was a fundamentally different understanding of what power meant. For Europeans and Chinese, power meant permanent things: castles, cities, monuments. For Mongols, power meant mobility, flexibility, the ability to be wherever you needed to be. The secret history of the Mongols describes what Genghis Khan valued most: the open steppe, fast horses, loyal companions, and the ability to move freely under the eternal blue sky. Notice what's missing from that list: palaces, cities, permanent monuments. When worlds collide. This created endless confusion for foreign visitors. The Chinese official Zhao Hong visited the Mongol court in the 1220s and was genuinely perplexed. The Khan had unlimited wealth, but chose to live in a felt tent, sleeping on the floor on carpets and furs. From Zhao Hong's perspective, this was incomprehensible. In Chinese culture, an emperor who didn't live in a palace would be seen as weak or impoverished. But the Mongols saw it differently. Living simply when you could afford luxury demonstrated strength and discipline. William of Rubruck tried explaining European castles to Mongol nobles: thick stone walls, towers, moats. They listened politely. Then one asked, quote, "But if you are inside these walls and your enemy is outside, are you not trapped? And if you must travel, do you build new walls everywhere you go?" Rubruck admitted he had no good answer. The cost of permanence. The Mongols understood that permanent fortifications came with permanent costs. A castle required constant maintenance, permanent garrisons, and year-round feeding of soldiers, even during peacetime. Ma Duanlin calculated that maintaining China's network of fortified cities consumed approximately 40% of the imperial budget. 40% just to maintain permanent structures. The Mongols had essentially zero maintenance costs for their dwellings. A yurt needed occasional felt repairs using readily available materials. No specialized craftsmen required. No permanent garrison needed. This meant Mongol Khans could spend resources on horses, weapons, and warriors instead of walls and maintenance. The final irony. Here's the ultimate irony. The Mongols conquered hundreds of castles during their campaigns. They knew exactly how castles worked and how to defeat them. And almost without exception, after conquering a castle, they'd station a small garrison if strategically important, but the Mongol leadership wouldn't move in. They'd set up their yurts outside the walls. The Persian chronicler Wasaf recorded an incident during the conquest of Persia. After capturing a magnificent fortress palace, the Mongol general was offered it as his residence. His response, quote, "I command from the saddle, not from a throne. Give the palace to the local governor we appoint. I will sleep in my jur as I always have." This wasn't primitive thinking. This was sophisticated military culture, understanding that mobility and flexibility were more valuable than impressive architecture. That freedom of movement was worth more than stone walls. The Mongols conquered the world not despite living in tents, but partly because they lived in tents. Their homes gave them strategic flexibility castle-dwelling civilizations couldn't match. They could move their entire capital in days. They could relocate families and possessions faster than enemies could march. They were never pinned down, never trapped, never forced to defend a fixed position. The felt tent wasn't a sign of primitive culture. It was the perfect tool for the largest land empire in history. Light enough to move anywhere, strong enough to survive harsh conditions, and practical enough to house everyone from common herders to the great Khan himself. The Mongols didn't choose tents over castles because they couldn't build castles. They chose tents because they understood that empires are built by people who can move, not by people who hide behind walls. Thanks for watching Mongol Madness. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. We explore the real history behind the Mongol Empire every week. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great week.